Well, welcome back. I've had a few little minor glitches here with the software, so it's a little bit later than I thought it would be. But we're going to talk today, of course, about sound and vision, basically adding uh, moving pictures and audio to our website pages. This can be well overdone, and it's never uh, a replacement for communication via the written word on the web, but it can be used as an addition to what you've got on the page. So let's get into the slide set a little bit. Um, well, let's do this first. I want to show you how I want you to set up for assignment 4. So let me share my screen here. That's not it. This one's it. I'm still not used to having 2 screens while I'm doing the video stuff here. So uh, pause me while you go and grab a hold of the putty tool. And we want to go to Odin. Now you guys will be doing everything once again in public underscore HTML. I am going to be one directory up so I can see everything, or keep everything rather, in a directory that's designed to keep each one of my classes separate. Once you are completely done with assignment 3, which you should be now, I've given you basically an extra week, and Stephen is grading those. I think he said he would have time tomorrow and Saturday, so those should be done relatively quickly. What I want you to do is hop into public underscore HTML, and then you're going to do the recursive copy. So CP minus R, we've done assignment 2 to assignment 3, but now we're going to do A3 / star to A4. Now, of course, before we do that, we're going to need to create our directory. So let's mkdir A4. I've already done it, so that's why I went straight to the copy command. Let's type it out once more. It's CP for copy, minus R, that stands for recursive. A3 / says I'm a directory, and I want all the stuff inside it is what that wildcard, the asterisk or star, means. We take one more space and we say, I want you to put that into A4. And we hit the enter key. Now we need to CD into A4, or ls minus L. And now you see what we've got is everything that was in assignment 3. Now, there are a couple other things we need to do. I am one directory up basically from public underscore HTML. So I can copy .. The .. means we're going down one level. So I'm going back into public underscore HTML. In this case, I've got the file in Summer 20, so just ignore that for now. Everything that I'm doing in Summer 20, you will be doing out of your public underscore HTML directory. So I want to copy from one level down the template.txt. I'm going to bring it in here, and again, just for this assignment, so everybody's on the same page, no pun intended, I'm going to write page 3 completely out and add a .html to it. Now I'm going to hit the enter key. Again, if we ls minus L, it shows us nothing has changed on that page. But you'll notice that I use the template instead of just 2 or 3 words on index and page 2. So let's CD into page 3. I apologize. I must be losing oxygen in here or something. Remember that index.html and page2.html for you in that recursive copy will come up with your About Me page as the index, your page2.html as the assignment we just got done creating, the schedule and the links pages. So let's see into page 3. Whoops, I forgot to hit my tab. They're going to make me do HTML. That may be why I probably kept hitting the caps lock key. Well, do you know what I've been trying to do? I've been trying to CD into an HTML page. Wow. So let's vim page3.html. When you do the right thing, it works. Now, just the way we started the other two, we have got just some text in the middle. And that's where we're going to put our audio and video files, or actually video files and then audio files. I also wanted to introduce you to a nice, easy little piece of HTML. For those that can't see it, it's an HR. A horizontal. I cannot type today. I've got a university laptop. A university laptop I've been working on for the coronavirus pandemic, so that I can have what I needed to work on. It's one of those very small ones, and typing on it after a while makes my hands virtually useless for any other thing that I can see. But I've saved that. Notice I've got one above and one below. So I want to grab a hold of a new Google window here now. Browser window is what I meant to say again. So we're going to get rid of everything and we're going to go to not Loki. Odin is where we want to go. There's the stuff we worked on last time. But what we're doing here is we're in summer of 20 and A4. If you get a not found request, first check to make sure that your VPN isn't down or that you haven't forgot to start the VPN. But I am in A4, right? Let's check it out. So yes, I'm in summer of 20 A4, and up here, summer of 20 A40.html. Wow. So there's my index. And I told you I only wrote a couple words on each one of those. If I go to page2.html, you'll have a schedule. I've got Boo2. But if I come back here and do page 3, now I've got a horizontal rule above and below. So it's really just a matter of having a physical break that people can see in between a couple different objects. It may be between in the row of different widgets that you're selling. This is a 3/5 inch widget. This is a 3/7 inch widget, whatever it is. but it's a nice way to logically break text or items or photographs in the list. But just like everything else, don't get really happy with it, because its best use is done sparingly. Now, the other thing we need to do, and the reason I did the video we just got done with that was on the archive.org site, is I downloaded a couple of pieces of music, right? Well, okay, so they were old-time radio shows, but it's still on my hard drive. And for me to make it seen by the world on that page we just drew up here, we need to have it inside of our Odin accounts. So again, I'm going to ls-l to remind myself what I've got. I need to have a home for those videos to reside, or those audio files to reside. So I'm going to mkdir, and I'm going to call it media. You could call it videos, you could call it whatever you wanted to, but I think media gives us the opportunity to put both audio and video files in there. So let's cd into media, and ls space -l, and we've got nothing in there. But I know that I have other things there. So I'm going to open up my WinSkip. I'm going to bring that up here a little bit more. And odin.unomaha.edu, port 22, secure file transfer protocol, my name and my password. I don't have to edit anything. I'm just going to click login. This is where the system admin, as I said before, will place any messages. If you never want to see that, just click it close. I like to keep it open because if something happens, if the box goes down, they kind of tell us what happened. Click continue, go on in. Remember, the left side is your desktop, or if you haven't changed it to that My Documents file. Again, I prefer my desktop. Over here then is Jay Blackmore, so that means the last time I was in here, I was in my home directory. Well, I want to come down to public_HTML, and I want to find my summer 20. So we can get all of this together in one place. There it is, right in the middle now. And there's my media directory, so I want to double click on that. Now, I've already got a lot of stuff in here because, well, I've kept this stuff around for ages and ages. One of the things you'll notice is that I've got the Green Hills of Earth in both MP3 and OGG format. But I want to show you how easy it is to get them over. And it's going to be down in the X's. I thought I put this in the desktop. Let's see if I put it over there in my documents. Anytime now. There we go. Well, that's interesting. I don't remember where I put them, but I know I saved them. Well, in any event, I'm not going to waste time because I've already got them up there. But basically, the only thing that you have to do, and we've done this before, is, let's go back to my desktop because I've got more stuff out here. Because all I need to do is grab a hold of it on the left-hand side. Do I have an audio file over there that I can do? Yeah, there's one. It's for an old Los Angeles punk rock band, but that works. So now I've got Wounds. And their song Fear, it's low quality MP4. That doesn't matter to us. But you'll know that even though it's low quality MP4, it's a pretty big file, which is why I've said many times, what you need to do when you're doing this is crunch those things down as far as you can. So we've got some media downloaded and put into that page. we've got the page constructed. Well, okay, we've copied the template over. But again, copying it over and changing its name is basically what we do all the time. I'm going to bring back wrong one. Where the devil did you go? Here we go. So I'm going to bring back the putty tool. And I'm going to ls -l again. I don't have anything in the media directory yet. So let's go back into oh, that's because I don't have it in A4. So I'm going to steal these two, and I'm going to drop them onto my desktop. And now we can see there are those two files on my desktop. We're going to go back into Summer 20, and I want to go into A4, and there's a directory that we created called Media. I'm going to grab both of these and just bring them over, drop them onto the right-hand side. Now I've got both of them where I need them in order to put them into our pages. This is our server containing the music we want to play, but we're also going to take a look here in the next 45 minutes or so at how we're going to use a direct link to them playing on the archive.org site, as well as using iframes from YouTube to bring videos right off of their server and onto our page. That won't work with every video. Some of them have a command that they are not to be embedded. So that may be that wonderful Metallica song that you really want to put on your page. You just can't, because Metallica has said, I don't want this music played from anywhere but my own site, or from your legally obtained copy of my music. And when you are dealing with media lawyers, you don't want to, let's put it that way. Those are the same people that sued and successfully won a case about a young mother in, I can't remember where, but you know, she barely was able to afford a computer in the days of Napster. And she apparently had 4 Metallica songs or something like that on it. And they charged her, God, I don't know, $1.25 million for each song that she was quote unquote distributing illegally. So these lawyers have no hearts. So make sure that when you're doing this, you are finding images, videos, all kinds of audio media that is out there and allowable to be played without a requirement for royalties or anything along those lines. And if they say it's under any kind of license, make sure that license is something that you understand before you put their music or someone else's music on your website. And even if they say no attribution required, I think it's always a mark of good faith and honesty to say, you know, this is the song UFOs in the Darkness by John X. Well, if you're going to play it on your website, you should also give them credit in words at some point in your website. Anyway, let's CD into media again. ls-l, and this time, both of them are there. Now I want to chmod 755. I'm going to use what's called a wildcard. I mentioned it a little bit earlier in another video, and that is the asterisk. It's that little star-shaped thing above the number 8 on a QWERTY keyboard. So I'm going to do star.mp4. Oh, there is 2. Oh, it's an MP3, sorry. There we go. Now, watch my ls minus l here. There's a difference immediately that you notice in the coloration of the two files. The reason that I always do ls minus l, I've told you before, it's because it's neat and it's alphabetical, and that's a big reason. But even better than that is I get to see the permissions that I've granted each file. Because I changed mode, I allowed my group members and the rest of the world to read and travel up and down the directory tree. That's what the execute means in this case, the X. Now everybody can hear the X minus 1 thing. So I'm going to go up again, and instead of doing MP3, I'm going to do OGG. Again, no errors are given me, but let's go up and do the ls minus l again. And my two files went from showing up as blue, which meant they were read-write for me and read-only for my group, to where I have total control, read, write, execute. My group can read and execute, and the rest of the world can read and execute. We're not literally meaning read in the case of, picking up a book here and start, thumbing through it. What we're talking about is giving that person's computer the right to read that file so it can play it back. And then execute in this case has nothing to do with running a program. In this case, it is allowing the user's browser to trace down through the server that you're serving this information from, and let them basically get to the point where it resides so that they can play it back to you. So that's why we're doing Chmod 755. CD down to one directory and do my ls minus l again. And now for your assignment 4 directory, you should have the following files. You should have index, page 2, and page 3.html, and you should have an images directory and a media directory at a minimum. Now, next week, when we do assignment 5, we're going to have 3 subdirectories inside of A5. We're going to add one for an external CSS file. So I've got all that set up now. It looks like images and media are okay to go. So let's go see what this looks like outside. And where are we at? Okay. So we're doing page 3.html. Let's just add for a minute. You know what? Even better. Let's just do this. Let's cheat. I don't have any index or anything over that to hide it. So as long as they know where it's coming from, they can grab whatever they want to off of my media files. This was, I think I clicked on the MP3. I did. Let's back this up. We can go to the Green Hills of Earth. And this is the OGG file, I'm sure. Yep, OGG in the back. So we're already halfway there. We've already got the ability to play these audio files off of our own server, off of our own directory. What we need to do, and we're going to do this here, we're going to start going through the slides now. What we're going to do is we're going to add the path to this as a relative link inside of the page 3.html file. So we're going to go backwards here, and we're going to go backwards one more time. And this is page 3. If I know that you've got your files in the media directory, basically all I've got to do is cut off page3.html and stick media on there instead. And I get carte blanche. That's one of the reasons why I say you should have an index.html everywhere, even if it just says there's nothing here, because that prevents the easy access to your files the way you just saw me work on it. So let's go ahead and open up the slide set. Let's get into this. You can consider the first part basically the conversation about the assignments. I will say one thing, the due date for assignment 4 is next Thursday. That would be July 2nd, I believe. Yep, July 2nd. But the paper is due July 7th, the Tuesday of next week. Excuse me, the Tuesday of the week after is what I meant to say. And we're going to have another assignment handed out on Tuesday that is all about CSS. So I will be making some more videos over this week and making that happen. All right, let me get back open with Putty here. If you're on a scene like this and it bugs you, one of the operating system commands you can use is clear. Now it looks like it just wiped everything out and went back to a blank screen. But really that's not what happened. If you, whoops. I cannot see my cursor. Oh well. Basically what's happened is it's hidden all the junk above it. So it really is still there. But we do want to cd ... get out of media and into A4. And actually, no, let's cd one more. And let's see. I think. Oh, that's one ahead of us. So we're going to. Index6.html. CD, I want them. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because we've already done this. So this up tomorrow. So I want to copy template.txt into, what are we doing here? We're doing sound and vision or music. Let's just do sound.html. And we're going to start fresh on this one. And I keep forgetting this is the summertime. We're doing different things in the summer. So, Didi, get out of my laboratory. Anybody ever watch Dexter? I love Dexter. Dexter was cool. But every time his sister got out of sight, she would try and get into his laboratory. So one of the constant refrains on the show was, Didi, get out of my laboratory. And if you think about that, every time you think about what can I do to erase one line of code in command mode, all you got to do is think Didi. So let's get back here into the good stuff. So right now, and there's a few more than these, but oh, come on, you silly thing. I'm not going to worry about it. You guys don't need the slideshow. You've got access to the slides. And these are probably big enough to read. So with easy access to cell phones, webcams, I've got a 35 millimeter body with digital lenses that I can swap out, just like I did when I was into photography 25, 30 years ago with a regular 35 millimeter camera. And I'm sure some of you have the same thing too. You may have video cameras, or you may, like your phone, have a camera and a video camera both inside of that cell phone. You would think we'd have more steady UFO videos, wouldn't you? But it doesn't seem to happen that way. Now, just like images are things we're like hanging on the wall of our HTML5 pages, that is basically the same kind of thing we need to think about with video and audio. We do have some code that we have to get memorized or get familiar with, at least, to make this stuff happen. Now, the three most supported video standards, I won't say only three, are Ogtheora, or OG Video, just like I talked about OGG as far as audio files in the archive.org video. H.264, which is now MP4, it is a very, very good codec that takes a lot of space out. It makes it so much easier to download video from the web. And then there's VP8 and VP9 actually now too, which is WebM. I don't know a lot about WebM, and I don't play around with it much. When I want to put a video together, I'm generally looking at either MP4 or OGV. And they're sawing again, so I hope that I've got the microphone to where it's not going to pick up all the construction work. In order to have a single video on a web page be supported by almost every browser in the world, we need to actually have two files for each video or audio file that we want to place on our web page. To embed is the fancy word on our web pages. Now, if you go to the jump link here, what you'll see is the current availability of basically which codec is supported by which browser. For those of you that don't know what a codec is, it is literally called a compression decompression algorithm. CODEC, compression decompression. And it's a lot like a zip file. Compression takes all the space out and squeezes it down. If you've ever seen a demonstration of one of those styrofoam heads put into a bariatric chamber, and then all of the air is sucked out, and the vacuum just makes the head go from like this big around down to a shrunken head kind of look. So that's what codecs do. They'll compress it down so it's easy to transport, and then while they play it, they decompress it so that you get all of the audio and video sharpness that you expect with a file. So I have that in my clipboard. Let's go to the standard site. And this is the Wikipedia site. It's got a pretty good article about what browser support means when we're talking about compression decompression algorithms. But it shows you which browsers support which different codecs. I don't know a lot about HEVC other than what's here, but you'll notice that Chrome, Internet Explorer, and Chromium don't support that without a lot of heavy lifting. Microsoft Edge with the media extensions, it will play some of this. Without it, won't happen. And the HEVC, the one that I said I don't mess around with either, needs a hardware decoder installed to make that happen. And you know, that's just a bunch of smaller browsers that are out there. But it's kind of interesting to look at it as, you know, the browsers get updated to see if any of this is updated. It's really an interesting concept or an interesting conversation as we talk about all of these things about, you know, trading images, trading videos over the web. At the same time, we're still trying to make the codecs compress even more to make the files that we need to transfer smaller. What aids everyone in the industry is also going to be used by those people who are illegally swapping videos. Now, I can't tell you all the different tools and software that's out there to create video. But if you want to convert some, you can take a look at Handbrake, VLC. I have never really played around with the Miro video converter. I do have VLC at home, and it's a little clunky, but it works. The other thing is Handbrake, and honestly, I've never used Handbrake. Now, that is just kind of background with the video. We actually have a video tag in HTML5, which allows us to put videos on our pages. But generally that means we either want to have a freeware source that allows us to kind of leech bandwidth off them, like archive.org, or you want to own the video and have it on your own server somewhere. There's two forms of this. There's the short form, which I'm going to show you right off the bat here, and then there's the long form. And it is always, always better, in my opinion, to use the long form. Now, I'm sure that across your lives, one or more of you have heard someone drop what's called the F-bomb. And as hideous as that is, or perhaps may be inside of polite society, there is another four-letter word that is much, much worse. And that word is autoplay. Whoops. And there it is right there, autoplay. Never, never use autoplay. If your boss tells you to use autoplay, slap him across the face and leave your position immediately. Well, maybe not quite, but you should explain to him why autoplay is bad. And if you do have autoplay, don't ever leave out controls. Controls allows your user to go up and click shut up and either stop or mute your video. Now, controls and autoplay are Boolean attributes. I think we talked about this before, but Boolean means basically true or false, on or off. And what it means to us is, as programmers, if we have the word controls in the tag, that attribute will make sure that stop, start, play, pause, etc. comes into you know, the bottom frame of the video. If we have autoplay there, the instant your user lands on the page, your music starts playing or your video starts playing. And you may or may not believe that I don't like that. And I think you'll figure it out. Autoplay is really, really evil. So what I want to talk about right now is let's take a look at something that I've pulled off of archive.org. This is the battleship Potemkin. This is supposedly the most famous of the early silent films because it is basically, it gets into it like a modern film does. I'm not a film critic, so I apologize for the randomness of my answer there. But it is interesting to see the first time. So I'm just going to highlight all of that. Click Control C. Can I actually access that? Oh, that's right. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of using Putty for this, I'm going to go ahead and close it. And I am going to come over to my Odin, and we're going to go down into the summer of 20, and index sound is what I'm looking for, or sound index rather. Let's try and refresh it. Sound.html, sound index, wow. But here we are. So just to keep reminding us of the HR, I'm going to use the HR tag instead of breaks today. And this is the Battleship Potemkin, or at least the code that I'm going to use to bring it into the web page that I'm building here together with you. So let's go out here and grab this. Now that was page 3. I keep forgetting about that. So we're going to get to, there we go. So this silent film from 1925 is one of the most important silent films ever. Now, if you noticed, and it's probably too small to see there, but this has got the Boolean controls on it, which means when I'm looking at that page, there we go, I have start, stop, pause, you know, the scan bar and the volume bar. So let's hit play. And with the volume bar, it doesn't have to be as annoying as it can be. Now, there are ways these days for you to be able to turn off autoplay from within the options menu of your browser. I don't remember if I've done this on this machine, but we will soon find out. So this is the easiest way basically to bring in a video to play on our screen. Let's go back to the slides here a bit. So we open the video tag, and remember it's a container tag. We add the Boolean attribute controls, so we have start, stop, sound, etc. We leave autoplay off. And notice our source, we're burning the archive.org bandwidth for this, but I've given them money, so they shouldn't be really bitchy about me using it, I don't think. Now, some browsers, and we saw the big list of Chromium and Chrome and Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge that wouldn't see that HEVC stuff. That's why we put this little message in here. Your browser sucks. Probably not that, but a nice polite, your browser, i.e. Safari, can't see this video is appropriate. Once we've got all that in, then we close the video. Again, it's just like putting a little space on one of our websites where we can show that video coming through. But we're getting it over the web. We're not getting it, of course, over, you know, like television or anything like that. It doesn't work that way. What it's doing is it's actually playing this Battleship Potemkin on its own server and sending it to us. So let's take a look at the next one here. The only difference between these two is that word right there, autoplay. Again, I don't remember if I turned autoplay off on my machine, but if you haven't done it on yours, go back, open this page up, and annoy your friends and relatives by hitting the refresh button every other day. Yeah, honestly, I watched this once and I haven't watched any further than that opening scene since that time. See the difference? If I hit refresh, I don't get a choice to start or stop the film, at least until after it has played at least a couple seconds, and I can hit the stop or the pause rather. So that's the difference between autoplay enabled and autoplay not enabled. This is generally, in my opinion, the lecture that I hate the most, and it's because of the fact that autoplay is something that we need to talk about. This is why when you land on, your favorite site talking about video games or cats or whatever, you've got all kinds of stuff moving in the background. Most sites now will at least start them muted, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, so that it doesn't automatically overwhelm you with 18 different ads all playing their sound at the highest level possible. So let's go back in here and let's see what we learn in the next slide. Now, these are called the small version because you see they've just got one source, and they're open close video with very few alternatives, nothing else in there basically. What we want to do is we want to use the long format. And I'm going to talk about source first, and then we're going to see how we use source inside of the video tag set to allow us to have two different sources for each one of the videos that we choose. And that way, whatever browser is being used has the ability to choose from two different versions of the film to ensure that 99.999 repeating of browsers out there are going to be able to see the video that we put online. So in this case, we actually have a source tag. It's not like the SRC that we've used, which tells it where to find it on our website or on someone else's. Pardon me. What it is, however, is it is a way of us telling the browser that they have a choice between one of these sources, and then we'll give the SRC attribute inside the source tag. Now, there's a couple things that we require. To really be 100% complete, what we need to do is specify the source, just like we did with the regular video tag, the short form. We also need to tell it what type of video that we are putting forth for them. So OGG, MP4, or WebM. And again, for our class, I'm going to prefer that you use OGG and MP4. I have not really had time to play around with the WebM stuff. So up here, number 5, we've got the video tag, but instead of having any SRC attribute, we just have the Boolean controls and the Boolean autoplay. Our source tags, however, are inside the open and closing video tag, and they give us both what type of video we're going to display and the source to that video. And then in 7, video MP4, and we go through to the Battleship Potemkin at 512 kilobytes MP4. We've got our little warning line here. You can't see this, And then we've got the closing video tag. So let's try this too here. And because it's hard to copy paste right now in this, where the devil is, there we go. So this is the long form, and it does look a little bit longer, doesn't it? Oops. I'm not having a lot of wind tonight, let me tell you. There we go. If you'll notice, basically, they're the same. They just reach out to that video that's playing, like I showed you, or the song that's playing, like I showed you in the archive.org overview that I put on YouTube earlier today. So I'm going to save this. We're going to come back out and take a look at the big one. So here's the first one, and all we've got there is controls, the Boolean controls. Yeah. Even with autoplay. And did you notice that it's like a second or two off? So there we go. And I never quite get fast enough to be able to click the pause button on two videos that fast. So again, every time you load this up, if you have autoplay, you're going to go right back to the beginning, and you're going to hear that musical, the entry note, and that's going to be part of your nightmares that night, probably. It's always that way for me. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Now, video controls, autoplay. I am not going to put autoplay in there again. But notice that I'm now using for my sources, I am using, what is it? It's a relative URL. Here we were still doing, whoops. Let's go back to 9. Here we were still using a full URL straight back to archive.org. If I go back up here and CD into media, I thought ls-l was right there, but let's do this again. My Battleship Potemkin. And notice how large it is too, by the way. It's 471, 645,000, 301,645,471. It's a pretty huge file. So let's see what we got when we're using the stuff out of the media files. They've got it listed in this as video, but I almost always use media. So we're going to have a little typing to do here once we get it on. So go there and let's do another HR, because this we're starting from the absolute URLs we've used here to the relative URLs we're going to use from this point on. So MEDIA. Now what I'm in right now is overstrike mode. Be very careful, because if you're watching your fingers on the keyboard, if you're doing this in WinSkip, you can overwrite all kinds of, and I changed that right there from overwrite to insert. But if you're not paying attention, what I was trying to say was you can overwrite a lot of code, especially if you know, you're working on something that you just finally got working, and it was something brand new for you in your head, and then you overstrike something and you can't remember what the hell you just figured out. And I've done that a lot, so you would not be the only one in that situation. So let's get back here. Let's refresh the page. So that's the top. This one I have to. And there we go. So this one, even autoplay, is playing from my Odin server right now. What was I going to do over here? Copy video location. Now I've copied the location from the video, but I've skipped the page that it was on. So you can see up here, it's Summer 20 Media, Battleship Potemkin, etc., etc. Oh, for crying out loud. Pause. I was at home doing a meeting with a couple of students for my advising half of the job, and my cat decided it was time for her to make an appearance and started typing with her paws. One of the hazards of working from home. Now, again, I would wholeheartedly suggest that after tonight, you just tell people that autoplay really doesn't exist. It's a complete and total nightmare fiction, because it's just a pain. But if you do sometime want to or have to use autoplay, fight for the right to put controls there too. With controls, autoplay is a little more manageable. Without it, basically you lose people from your page. Now, there's a couple other things that we can do here for video that in the most case, well, not always, but I prefer for height and width to be set via CSS, whether it's an inline CSS or part of an external sheet. We're going to talk about those beginning on next week's lecture set. Loop. You notice how many letters it has? Yeah, you can drop the L bomb too, especially if you have no controls, but you have autoplay and loop. There was a website up for a dressmaker's site in Florida somewhere. I'll have to see if I can find the link to a copy of it from our archive. But they had, I like classical music, but I don't like it when it's on forever. And it had a loop and an autoplay, and there were no controls there. So it would play over and over and over again. And for some reason, every time it went around the loop once, basically, it got a little bit louder until eventually it was loud enough that it would, you know, wake up your partner in the next bedroom kind of thing. We don't need that. Loop is just annoying. Give your user the opportunity to click the play button a second time if you want them to hear the music more than once. Muted, remember I said that a lot of websites are now starting them muted. This is how they do it. So it will run, at least the visual part will run underneath whatever else you've got on your page, but it will be there or on the side of your page. We are like, in evolutionary history, we're both like predator and prey. So if you've ever watched a cat just sit there, you'll see that her eyes or his eyes are tracking things. They're looking all over the place. And if you wave a toy in their peripheral vision, they'll start walking towards you. So that's what these ads are doing. They're no longer, blaring out at 400 decibels. Instead, what they're doing is they're keeping things moving behind the mute so that your eyes are constantly drawn to the movement. Park yourself in a town in an online game and then make a window to cruise the net, or surf the net rather, excuse me. That's just a quarter of an inch smaller than the window of the game. And you would be amazed at how often your eye starts darting to corners of the bottom or the top because you see something quickly appear and disappear. So muted doesn't, it doesn't deny any efficiency to the people that are running those ads because they keep them moving in the background. The poster I don't see as often anymore, but there are some streaming sites that will put a poster up in the place of the media player that they're going to use to display the images, or the videos rather. Basically, you can take like the movie poster for Atlantic City, and while the movie is downloading enough to start streaming, the poster covers it up and has the glitz and the glamour on there to make people maintain their interest in it, to show them what's going to come up until it actually does. Once the movie starts streaming, the poster goes away. Here's the one that everybody likes, the talking about embedding videos from YouTube. If you don't want to go through the hassle of the videos and finding them on archive or somewhere else that has hey, no worries, no copyright, you can play this however much you want, you can use YouTube videos. Now, one of the problems is whenever you use a video from someone else's server, of course, is that that video can disappear. Think about the number of times you've gone to, I don't know, an anime music video, or even a video that someone who is not in the chain of command for that artist or their publisher has control over, and that song suddenly becomes gone one day. And they say, well, because Warner Brothers has said you can't listen to this in your country, or something along those lines. So you've got to keep on top of videos and audio from other people, even if it's okay to play them. Sometimes they go away by mistake when the URL is changed, or sometimes they're just taken off. But let's see how we do this. So this is an iframe. It's actually kind of old school, but you'll notice they have the old school width and height. Source, which we've seen on so many things, that tells us exactly what the URL is for it. Frame border equals 0, so you don't get a border around it. I personally like borders, but that's okay. Allow full screen did not used to be okay, but it is now okay in HTML5. And then we close the iframe. So notice that the iframe is a container tag. Now, this is JD McPherson's video for Northside Girl. The frame border attribute we can't use. It needs to be taken out. Just delete it. We can put a border on with CSS if we want it later. We can leave it without the border. That's okay. The allow full screen, as I said before, used to be an error, but it's not anymore. And I like keeping that there to show you that as the standards evolve, things change. You can do all of what you need to do with an iframe set, source, height, and width. You don't need anything except that, except those three. What we're basically doing is instead of hanging a picture on the wall, we're putting a picture frame around which you can see through the window. So we're bringing a window from somebody else's website into ours. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to tell you right now that one of these is going to die. A horrible, horrible death. But we're going to figure out how to fix it. And I've seen this error happen a lot. Again, I'm going to show you how to fix it. Now, I'm going to do another HR down here because we're starting something a little bit different. Remember, HR is a horizontal rule. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else for us. So I am going to bring my iframe out a little more here. Now, everybody knows the Foo Fighters, I assume. And again, I'm going to bring my iframe up together here. So the first link goes to the Foo Fighters. The second link goes to the Buggles. Now, the Buggles sang the song "Video Killed the Radio Star" many years ago. And it's one of, in the music world, actually, it's a very, very important song. And the reason why it's very important is because it was the first song ever played on MTV. I was actually on a debate tournament in high school when that happened. So I can sit there, or remember sitting there around the television screen in my hotel room going, I want my MTV. And it came on and it was wow. And now they don't even really play music videos on MTV anymore. So I'm going to go back out here to our website. I'm going to click, oh, scheisse. I always forget about these bloody things. Okay, here's a Foo Fighters. And those of you who like the Foo Fighters are probably going, yeah, this is a cool song. I really like the Buggles. But what happened? So let's figure it out. I'm going to come down here and I am going to grab a hold of the source here. And let's open up a new window. Well, that's interesting. Works there. But let's figure out why. Yeah, I heard you on the wireless too. That's okay. So here we've got, it's not the http://. So that's off the menu. Preferences. Okay, I want to get my font up a little bit higher here. There we go. And we're going to okay that. So here's what happens. Notice this one. And then what's different with that one? If you caught what is exactly behind that / after youtube.com, you're correct. This one is embed. This one is watch question V equals an alphabet soup. Here's what you got to do, at least on YouTube, in order to embed a video on your page. So what you want to do is go down to where it says share and click on that. It's going to give you all kinds of social media crap, including email, actually, which isn't as common as you might think anymore. But we want to just click on embed. And I usually highlight everything and copy it, but you can just click the copy there. And that should give us a copy pastable set. So I'm going to come down here and let's just do another iframe. Sorry. I didn't see that I'd hidden my iframe down there. So iframe. Oh, that's right. I forgot I had the whole thing. I also don't usually do the whole thing copy. I copy what I want out of it. So iframe, width 560, 315. Look at the difference between these two again. Instead of the watch video, we've got embed, and the alphabet soup is the name. So you can fix it that way, or you can come back here and make watch be embed and get rid of the question mark, the V, and the equal sign. Either way will work. Now, I don't want the accelerometer. I don't want the frame border. I'm getting rid of those. I definitely, after my ranting here, don't want encrypted, well, I don't want autoplay. Encrypted media, I don't want. I want to get rid of these. Some of those may be allowable now under HTML5, but really, I want to keep this as simple as possible. And I'll allow full screen, but that's basically it. So I've got my iframe tag. My attributes are width and height. My source is full out to the embed version of the number. Allow full screen, sure, why not, and then close the iframe. And a lot of the big sites have gotten rid of ampersands in their URLs, but remember you can use the ampersand AMP semicolon to make that happen without hitting an ampersand in the length that we're typing. Anyway, let's save that. Let's come back out here. I want to kill the YouTube window. I'm going to refresh and have to do all the bloody Potemkins all over again. Oh, I went the wrong direction, didn't I? So we got that. We got that one. Third more. Again, the Foo Fighters are there. The Buggles aren't. But now the Buggles are. So make sure if you want to stick a YouTube video in your page that you follow the share and grab the embed. Don't make the mistake of using the URL that's on the top of the page in the address bar. It's not going to get you anywhere. And that really is quite a funky song. I like it. Okay, so we've got the iframes done. Well, we've got a few more things to do here, so let's rock and roll on them. So there was the Foo Fighters. We talked about that. Let's talk about a little extra stuff. Remember that these codecs are not always up to date on users' machines. So most of the time, well, when Flash was really popular, I'm sure that every once in a while you logged in to watch a Flash video or play a Flash game at one of those websites, and a message popped up and said that you need to download the latest version of Flash in order to make this happen. That's exactly what we're talking about here. For you Apple people, QuickTime is updated very often. So basically what will happen is when they go to your site and they can't play the video, they are usually automatically prompted to download the current level of the video, or level of the tool rather. Audio is just as easy as the video was. And what we're talking about there is that we can use 5 different versions of codecs. Ogg Vorbis, which is again the freeware version of the OGV, and what we downloaded as the Green Hills of Earth in both OGG and MP3. Wave or PCM. Wave is just usually huge file sizes in my experience. They could have improved that now, but I just by default ignore WAV files. MP3s were invented by a company called Fraunhofer out of Germany. And the invention of the MP3 was really what made Napster possible, because of the smaller file sizes for good quality music. I remember the comparison between 50,000 versus 3,800 or so for the same file between WAV and MP3. So where you would have, a CD's worth, 12 or 14 or 18 songs on one CD, with MP3s, you could literally have hundreds, depending on how big the files were or how long the songs were. AAC is it's kind of like FLAC. It's an open source codec. Speaks, I have not used Speaks before, but it's a codec that's designed specifically to work with spoken word. So taping speeches, that kind of thing. The combination that I'm going to want you to use is the OGG and the MP3s. It's just easier for us to get hold of them. As far as the Apple folks, well, the Wave PCM is cool with Chrome and Safari, but notice that both Ogg Vorbis and MP3 work as well. MP3 does not, IE, Internet Explorer, does not work. Any of the Microsoft browsers that I know off the top of my head don't work well with Ogg Vorbis for some reason. Now, Microsoft wants to own the world and is a long way to getting there. So maybe that's why. Now, that jump directory has the Wikipedia page with audio standards, just like we saw with video standards. So you can hit there if you want to kind of check and see what works for what. Again, in my opinion, the MP3 and the OGG is the best combination. There's really only one specific piece of software that I would really strongly suggest that you use to convert one file format to another. If you find stuff on, archive.org, for example, you can download more than one version of it. Let's get rid of you there. What do I have here? Okay. What I would suggest you do is, if you have to download something, download the MP3 version. Usually that's out there, but the OGG isn't. However, if you download and install Audacity, this is how a lot of instructors used to do voice over PowerPoint, because it's free and it is just a bruiser in terms of what it does. So you don't even, if you got your computer set up to accept things dropping in and activating your programs, some people don't. I can just bring this over, drop it down. You'll notice that it is, running the little green bar. So this is, again, I think, the Green Hills of Earth. Let's play it and find out. Now, one thing you might notice is this is in stereo.
4, 3,
I know a lot of people who self-produce CDs with music on them from the Renaissance Fair circuit. And this does a damn good job of it. And you'll notice it looks a lot like audio facilities that you might see an image of in, or you might see the actual built up tools in a studio for people to record music in. This skips all of those, heavy duty appliances, the sliding things that you see some people using, or DJ equipment, whatever you want to call it, with just software. But we don't have to go this far. All we really need to do here is file. See the word export? We're going to export as, I've got the OGG out here. Let's export this as a WAV. I don't want you to do this for your assignment, but I want to see how big that WAV file is going to be. You can change things here if you need to. Frankly, I would just click on save. Oh, that's the meta file. Yeah, don't worry about that. Just click save. And okay. So I'm going to go back here. There's the MP3, there's the WAV. So let's look at the properties of OGG. 12.3 megabytes. Let's look at, God bless America, the freaking, sorry, they've started to vacuum out there. So we're going to have to wrap this up pretty quickly. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to see those. So this is the MP3 version. This is 10.9 megabytes. And as I said, the WAV files are really usually large. This is 121 megabytes. And honestly, I cannot see how the quality is going to be improved by that 121 megabytes. It just, to me, sounds all the same. There's the MP3. Here's the WAV file. If anything, I think I heard more crackle on the WAV than I did on the MP3. Again, though, with whatever file we have loaded, usually that for you is going to be a downloaded MP3. And all we need to do is export. And if you've got an MP3, we want you to export as OGG. And, punch your way there. Click save. Click no. And let's just do copy of. Click OK. And there you go. That's all there is to this. It's as easy to change that audio file from one compression decompression algorithm, one codec to another in, I think it said 15 seconds. So Audacity, especially if you're into music and editing, is one of your best friends. I don't know why I did that, because I'm always afraid I'm losing stuff. That's okay. So let's do a couple little examples here of what we're talking about. And hopefully I lose the, I did not. It's on. Well, Darn it. So let me get back to our Overwatch page. Oh, that was weird. There. And instead of that, we're going to do it was laggy enough that I probably could have done it if I worked just a little bit faster. Or if my machine worked a little bit faster, as the case may be. So let's get back to that. We talked about SourceForge. We talked about the audio standards. Let's go down to here. And rather than doing Sherlock Holmes, we're going to do the green fields of Earth again, because I know that I've got that, and I believe that the guy that posted this, Smurf somebody, Smurf Meat, was kicked off and some of his videos were removed because they were supposedly not allowable. They weren't out of copyright. And what that means generally is just that everything that person has put up is taken down rather than them, you know, cherry picking one after the other. So, oh, I've got, there we go, right there. So I'm going to add, oh no, we're going to do the one thing first. Okay, so we'll do this one first. And let's get back into Putty. So CD, I'm going down one level. And no, just going to go down one level. So Vim sound.html. Again, everything that we've been doing via the WinSkip is here, and it's in the right colors and everything else. I would definitely make sure that if you're getting errors, you don't use WinSkip. You go back in and take a look at your file here on the Putty tool. All right, so that's what we're doing. Let me get back over here. And instead of this source, we're going to go back and do the Green Hills of Earth again. And again, this source inside of the audio control or the audio tag is a direct hard-coded URL right, absolute URL right back to archive.org. I didn't capitalize Earth. Oh well. My aunts rolled in their graves collectively. Once again, refreshing, once again, going up and shutting off the men and the maggots. I wonder if the maggots were in their food or if that was just an epithet against them. So we've got a player here, and it will look different in Chrome. It will look different in Microsoft Internet Explorer, et cetera, et cetera. It'll look different in Opera. Let's click this. I thought I had that right. go back and check my code. And again, I think let's try getting rid of the secure hypertext transfer protocol for just a moment. Let's go back up here and refresh again. Off, off, off. I almost made it. Well, isn't that special? Curious and curiouser, said Alice to the White Rabbit. I think what's happening may be that I'm getting some weird error here because of Odin, but that should not be. Oh, for crying out loud, I've got download on there. Or wait a minute, that shouldn't matter, but let's try. Oops. Never get the third one. That's bizarre. So let's try going in there and getting them off our own server here instead. So Vim Media, don't ever do that. CD into media. We're going to try Ouroboros.mp3 instead. Interesting. I'm going to have to play with this, and we can talk about that on next Thursday. So let's just grab. You know what? Slide. Skip these for right now because I want to make sure that this happens. So this is not going to be the warm Ouroboros, obviously. This will be later. You ever hate it when you don't remember how to spell something? Gotten slammed anyway because I think I did not capitalize the O back in here. I sure did. All right, so I want to at least make sure this works. Stop. Wow. Where am I at? Curious. So let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Thinking I didn't save the bloody thing. That's okay. Now I've saved it. Those two, because I know that these have already been. Let's try this as well. MP3. Again, that turns my MP3s to green. And let's see what my OGGs go to. So Chmod. Green. So green should be good to go. That is likely the reason that we had a problem there. All right. Go away. One last time. I got at least one bar before it went crapo on me. Did I leave those as video or did I change them to? Well, that's all right, booger. I've got to call the ITS people, wondering if they included a security note that we were not supposed to play media on Odin, which would be a right pain in the butt. But see, another thing I forgot to change. Guess what I forgot to do? But I still didn't get anything out of here when I pressed that. So thing here. So we're going to get rid of this altogether. So that may be part of the problem. I'm going to do open HR there. And HR tag. Saved it one last time and then I'm giving up. Okay. So remember to use Chmod 77 or 755 rather, excuse me, on your music files. For now, I'm going to recommend in this for the assignment that you download the audio files from either archive.org. I'm going to put another source on my page, the blue page, where you can find some freebie software or some freebie music from artists all over the world. And they put it up specifically for people to utilize without having any licensure on it. It is just up there free for use for commercial and non-commercial methods or websites, other things. some people have used the site for incidental music inside of independent video games. So that should be good to go. But for right now, I want you to do the audio tags, but download them, save them to your Odin account, and we'll work this from that direction. I am going to record another set of videos on Tuesday so I can get 1 week ahead of all of this. But the error with the audio file from archive is odd, because I literally went out and grabbed those two URLs immediately before I started recording this video. So I'm going to have to take a look at that. Anyway, I'm going to stop this right now. We'll talk to you guys at 5:30 on Thursday, and I will touch base with everybody in email. So remember to use the capitalized class name and number so that I can see it in the emails that I get mass mailed every day. Thank you all. I will see you on, well, next Thursday at the bare minimum. Take care. Have a good night.